How to Win Friends and Influence People. There we go. Dale Carnegie. I think that's pronounced his name right. This is another really great book that if you are interested, it's a really great book to read, to learn from. How to Win Friends and Influence Other People and Influence People. The only book you need to lead you to success, which is hilarious. But with that, my third tip of this week is to become a conversationalist. Like, figure out the art of conversation. Like, master really great skills of what it's like. Like, for me, I was sitting on the edge of my truck one day, and I think I was just doing some work on my phone. I have one of these really cool, and this is I have one of these really cool, foldable phones that are like is great for business. By the way, this is not a Galaxy sponsorship, but Google, if you wanna, okay. Anyway, but I'm so glad that I had the chance to learn a lot of different skills to talk to people and have just really good fluid conversations, because without that I would never been able to have this kind of conversation here. So I was sitting on the edge of my truck doing some work. I don't know, maybe on Zoom or writing something or doing some kind of training or something. I don't know what I was doing. And this lady pulls up and she's like, "Hey, question, what's going on here?" And I was like, well, I'm not too sure. However, and then I think I ended up asking a question about what is it that she's looking for whatever was going on in the area. I don't want to talk about the area because there was some crazy stuff going on that day. It's also the day that my truck got stolen. But anyway, some crazy things going on. And so I asked that question, and which prompted her to give me so much more information. Like, I've learned how to use really good questioning skills, really good listening skills, and things like that to help me. And lo and behold, like, we had a good maybe 10-minute conversation just like through her car window. And I come to find out that she is the owner of like a FedEx or UPS store and some other things like that, and that she was looking for assistance with some IRAs and some secure acts and things like that that I could ultimately help her out with. And that provided so many different doors that I never would have thought about, because also she knows so many other business owners and entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals who I can also reach out to, mentor, coach, and things like that. Right. So let this have been maybe me from 2 years ago, who didn't really know how to have really good conversations and hadn't really mastered the art of conversation. I wouldn't have been able to even have that. I probably would have been like, I don't know, and just left it at that. But instead, peeking more, or like asking more questions, asking open-ended questions, layering questions, and things like that allowed me to actually start to become much better at conversations. And so, some of the basics of good conversations, right, is not just about you talking. And one thing that I think a lot of my leaders do very well is at the end of a conversation with them, I notice that I feel really good, like amazing, but likely they didn't talk much. My like mentors and my leaders that I go to, they didn't talk much. I probably talk much more, but it's because good communication and good conversations are not based on, oh, how much can I talk, right? Like, obviously, like in this podcast form, right? Like, I have to talk. It's not really a conversation. No, but like it kind of is. But anyway, it's about listening and understanding and connecting with that person. Like, how much can you feel like how much can you make this other person feel like they are heard? Like, you want to actually genuinely connect with them and understand them, right? So talk a lot less, listen a lot more, because that's a much better conversation. Now, obviously, let's say that people are just not talking at all. Okay, well, yeah, but still, couple other really good things is obviously we've all heard it in school. You want to have really good active listening. Always be listening to understand as well. Have clear, good communication. Always be listening to repeat back any kind of pain points, any kind of issues, or things that are a little bit unclear for you. Having appropriate body language as well. Just like actually leaning in, showing that you care about someone versus being, cut off and whatever. Showing empathy as well is a huge thing. You can show empathy with just your face, right? While you're listening to someone. That wasn't empathy. I don't know what that was. But I will tell you that one other thing that could just prepare you a little bit better is, and maybe actually not a little bit better, a lot more, is like knowing a lot about different topics that can come up, right? And so what I will say is, let's just say that you are in high school. What kind of things do you know about that? Yeah, what kind of things do you know about? In high school, oh, you might be reading this book, The Great Gatsby, or you might be talking about going to prom or maybe school. So like your conversations almost typically always end up turning back towards high school. Similar to work, right? Like with me in the military, it's like while I was in the military, all of my conversations always went down the path towards military. And I can know so much. It's because I know so much about that topic that even if the conversation started talking about eating hot dogs, somehow it's going to turn into probably eating crayons like us Marines do. Like it's going to get there. So same thing with every other conversation. Like the more things you know about, the more your conversation will start to go towards those things. And if you fill your brain up with, success stories or really good conversations about what's actually going on in the world or whatever the case is, like you actually fill your little content bag up with all these different topics that you know about, your conversations are going to start to go there, right? If you want to talk to successful people, your conversations will turn towards success as long as you're filling up and learning more and knowing a bit about the success topic, right? So active listening is a huge foundation to obviously all types of conversations, right? So figure out ways to work with a friend, a family member, loved one, or whatever, to actually like sit down and talk to each other and actively listen. Like don't listen to respond, actually listen, take in the information that they're providing, and not theoretically, every now and again, just repeat it back to them that you've heard what they're saying. Like actually get that kind of practice is going to help out a lot. Breaking the ice is a huge thing because like how do you actually break the ice to start a conversation, right? You build up all these skills to keep conversations flowing, but how do you actually break the ice initially? I'll say, we already talked about like prospecting. A lot of times there's a lot of fear of just initiating a conversation, right? So how do you get over the fear of initiating a conversation? Well, let's just say that you are going to call somebody, right? Obviously, typically, hi, hey, hello, how's it going? Those kind of things. But you know that you're going to get into some kind of conversation, right? Actually, like figure out little ways to find something that you and that person can connect with, even if it's over the phone, right? Oh, wow, the weather today is crazy, right? Oh, yeah, it is. And that's going to get you the chance to start that conversation. Like, don't be afraid. Like, yeah, it might be awkward or weird at first, but as with practice, you're going to get so much better, right? But then also another really great way to start conversations off is to figure out a way to ask for their opinion or like give a compliment or like have to talk about some kind of shared experience between the two of you, right? Let's say that you come up to someone and you're at the mall. I'm waiting for hot dogs. I guess hot dogs and the mall is going to be the place today. It's going to be our location. Like who did it where? The mall with the hot dog. But let's say you are at the mall, and let's just say that obviously the shared experience is the mall is crowded, probably things like that, where you're actually like used to, or excuse me, where you're actually not used to being in really crowded places. All right, cool. How do you just initiate a conversation with someone? Oh man, yeah, the mall is getting busier and busier by the day, right? Oh yeah, it is. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, it is. That's the easy way to break the ice, right? And then now you can talk. That's some shared experience. Maybe you say, "Hey, so I just bought this bag from this store down in the mall. Like, what do you think about it? Oh, that's a really nice bag. That's actually I was looking at it. I didn't really know that somewhere in his mall had that bag. I thought you had already had it. Yeah, and it was actually on sale too. Was it? Now you have a really good conversation, right? But there's that. But besides that, I would say like keep up with like current events, like pop culture, different types of hobbies and things like that, just to be able to have some conversation starters just overall, right? Now, how do you keep the conversation going once you do break that ice? Biggest thing is, yeah, like there's going to be awkward moments. Try and avoid them as much as possible. Like already be having in your mind as you're breaking the ice, like some really good open-ended questions that you can ask them, right? Open-ended questions are questions that don't end with yes or no. They require somebody to give a response on something. What are your thoughts about, or how did this happen? Or, right, whatever the case is, and it allows them to now start to talk. And again, active listening, listen, but like actually shows genuine interest in whatever their response is. Like if you actually care, you're going to be able to actually build rapport much better, right? Rapport building is key and keeping that conversation going. Body language is a huge piece of it, right? That's really the best part about silent communication. Is just that overall, your non-verbal cues are going to go much further with someone, right? Than like I can sit here and talk to you just like this, be showing all the expression on my face. I don't know. I wasn't looking at myself, so maybe I should like look at myself. I don't know. I suck at verbal cues apparently when I'm looking at a camera, but obviously like nonverbal cues are going to ultimately enhance so much about the communication that you're having that conversation, and sometimes it'll even undermine the verbal communication that you're actually giving. So ensure that your face and your body matches what you want them to feel, right? Also, I'll tell you, there's another really great technique to be able to actually match their body language to relax their body language, right? Let's say that they have their arms crossed while they're talking to you. Maybe they're kind of still a little bit reserved to shut off, right? You can cross your arms as well. That same kind of thing. Yeah, they nod, you nod. Eventually, and this is something great that my leader, Nicholas Bosley, taught me. He says after a while of you mirroring them, is going to like the transfer of power is going to happen to where you are now in control of what's happening. So as you're crossing your arms, right, and you're nodding, you'll see that they're crossing their arms or nodding, right, as they're talking to you or you're talking to them. And then maybe you open up your arms and you lean forward. They're going to open up their arms. They're leaning forward as well. Like body communication, body language is huge and very key in having really great conversations. Sometimes I will say that there are going to be some difficult conversations, and the biggest thing is figure out ways to stay calm, be tactful, be respectful, and like sometimes it might be okay just to agree to disagree, like whenever it's necessary, right? Like not all the time are you going to be able to see from that person's perspective. And again, this is why you want to build on yourself, read more, talk to more people, things like that, so that way you can have much more of a bird's eye perspective or an omniscient perspective, right? But if you can figure out a way to see the other person's situation or step into their shoes, that conversation is going to be so much more enriching for both you and them. Plus, if it does get to a point of difficulty in that conversation or is getting negative, you might even be able to diffuse any kind of tensions that were arising because you're able to step into their shoes, right? Not all the time is it a really good thing to say, I've been where you are before, because a lot of times people are going to feel like you have never been. And even if you might have, it doesn't matter. You don't need to say that all the time. That's not going to get you far. But stepping into their shoes and understanding that right now what they probably need most is whatever. Make sure that you understand to stay calm, be respectful, be tactful, those kind of things. So anyway, biggest thing this week to do when it comes to being a conversationalist is to actually practice. Start talking to people more, converse more, actually get out there. Maybe go join some kind of network, some kind of club, some kind of social media group, go to some sort of networking events. I have a big networking event tomorrow. Actually, obviously, like if you're watching this live, then it's tomorrow on Sunday. But if you're watching this later on as a VOD or as an individual video, then you already missed it. There are recordings. And then also maybe just try and start conversations in everyday situations just as practice. Like just a random conversation with somebody. Just text somebody, hey, how's it going? And actually continue on. Actually continue on the conversation. You can put these kind of skills to really good practice. So those are my 3 tips for this week.